So yeah, he could actually lick his own elbow. Crazy, right? Oh, hello there. Fancy seeing you here. Why not pull up a chair and get yourself comfy as we're about to start episode 2 of Paint with Dave. I'm Dave. These are paints. Let's crack on, shall we? Almost there. So, today we're going to be painting miniature from Deuslair. I speak, of course, of the fearsome Owlbear. Not to be confused with Owlbear, the fifth musketeer. He's sharp, he's cool, he's nobody's fool. If you understood that dated reference, then congratulations, you're old. But from something old to something new, let's take a look at that Owlbear miniature. If you want to get your hands on this mini and others like it, then head on over to our online store, link below. The Owlbear Mini will be available at the start of November, so sign up to our newsletter to be one of the first to be notified as soon as it's ready. And while you're at it, please also like, share, and subscribe. Hit that bell icon to stay notified. But with all of that jibber jabber out of the way, let's start on the model, shall we? Now, as you may see, I haven't yet fully built the model, using a bit of white tack to keep it in place. Why is this? This is because usually in a fully painted model, you have to twist and contort your hands to all kinds of positions. But now that I can pull the model apart at will, I can get into every single crevice. So let's start off with a base coat and a zenithal highlight. This is the zenithal highlight done. Let's start with some speed paints. I'm going to go with some ruddy fur. Ruddy fur. Ruddy heck. Why not? In you go. Easy as you like. Now, what we want to do is we want to get this on so that it stays wet for a while, because we're going to do some on the model wet mixing. What does that mean? That means we're going to mix some paints on the model. Lovely. And while that little beauty dries, let's do these little guys, shall we? These adorable, adorable little pups. Let's just hold this here so we can see these little cherubs. Look at that. In fact, what I'm going to do, I'm going to just stick those very loosely on there so I don't have to touch them too much. And we're going to come back with the ruddy brown. There we go. Oh, there we go. Look at these little darlings coming to life. Oh, there we go. They're playful little scamps, aren't they? There we go in there. There we go, a little bit more on there. Now they're nice and light there. Well, let's bring it in. And this is where we're going to start some mixing. Now, there's no real rule to mixing. You just kind of do it as it looks, really. That's still a bit gooey. So if it's a bit gooey, give it a shake. Shake it that way, not that way. Let's just actually mix those in together. Get some nice tones in here. And then while that bit dries, we're going to get some more in. Lovely, 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 lovely. Oh, there we go. That's really bringing that out. Make it look like they've got that young child coat on their bodies there. Oh, actually, you know what? Let's bring that back a bit there. Ooh, there we go, getting into all of those gaps, making sure not to make it too light. You don't want to make that zenithal highlight redundant. But even if you do, it's a nice guide to show you where the light source will come from. Let's get that in there. And a little bit on the shoulder. It doesn't have to be amazingly accurate. If you want some parts to be a little bit lighter, and it's not entirely realistic, it doesn't have to be. You're making this up as you go along. You're making it look just nice for you, and hopefully for others. So while we wait for most of those bits to dry, let's get some of the bits that are accessible, shall we? Oh, there it is. There it is, nice. Now, it's a little bit too red for my liking. I usually like to go a little bit darker. So I'm going to have a little bit of matte black. Just a scooch, a tiny bit, just there. And let's mix it in just a little bit there. get that in there. There we go. We have a nice dark red. Now, when mixing your paints on your wet palette, don't mix them all together. Just do like a little up and down like this. Why is this? Because then you have lots of different tones to play with, and it will stay wet for a while. So we're going to, I'll do that, because if I do that, it's dirty. So let's start off with the darker one. And we're just going to come in here in the mouth. Let's just bring that out. Now, that should be mostly dry. In fact, no, that bit's still wet. I'm going to have a little blow. Just to try and help it along with drying. Ooh, dry. So now that that's dry, let's do some dry brushing. Really make those colors pop. Now, what I want to do for this one is add a bit of arid earth into our already wet brown mixture. There we go. Nice little bit in there. But do try and maintain your brushes, keep them clean and keep them usable. And we're using a creamy color. In fact, we're mixing arid earth, which is slightly creamy, with our fur brown. And I'm doing this instead of white because white will tend to dilute and sort of take down the color of whatever you're mixing it with. If you ever want to mute a color slightly, add a bit of black, add a bit of white. The best way to learn how to do that is just practice. Now, you can use dry paints if you want, they're all good. But you can also just take some normal paint and just dry it off here. And you're making your own dry paint. And just get it off until it looks like it's nearly gone. And it's just about getting there. Press a little bit harder, just to get that off there. And let's just gently catch those areas. And as you can see already, our furry mama is starting to really come alive with that dry brush. Just very gently, press a little bit harder if you want more effect. But now let's just take these little darlings off and they can just sit there, stay. And we're going to just gently there we go. Now look at that, lovely. Let's bring out the face. Now, sometimes it's quite handy to do a little dry brush just to bring out some of the details that you may not always see. You hear, bringing out the face, which will make it easier to pick out those details later on. And just go around here, really pick out all those bits. Now this bit doesn't need to be too light because it's dark there, but we have this here. This is where the zenithal undercoat really starts to pull its weight. And we're just going to bring some more in back here. So we can see it's kind of brought the color down a little bit, but it's made those details come out quite nicely. We're going to do the same with these little ones here. So bring the back out a little bit. Now that's going to be a little bit hidden, but we still want to get those in there because you never know. You never know what you might see later on. There we go. Lovely. Look at these adorable little things having fun. I want that skull. No, it's mine. Something like that. Bring that shoulder out. Let's now move to bringing some of those colors back. Let's go with some aged hide, see what that looks like on the wet palette. Oh, it's a little bit red. And we're just going to try it out in the dark areas. Just to really make that. And we're just going to do this at the top. The reason for this is we want to show some different color tones throughout the model. Have some variation in it so that the eye doesn't get bored while staring at it. You notice new things as you go along. There. I think we can probably add some yellow in there as well, and a little bit I'll have to dig that out. Let's pop this on top here, really add some nice variations. I think while we wait for those to dry, I can just carefully remove our owlbear from the base. Let's get to work on the base. All about that base. So, let's take it down. We've got a nice sort of woodland area here. Now, you'll probably have a different base with your Owlbear Mini, but luckily we do also sell some woodland sets. So if you want to, pick yourself up one of these as well. Really make your own world, as it were. Let's go with a nice common color, a nice deep blue. Reason for this is because blue will mix very nicely with the grass that we're going to put in later, as well as the rocks, gray and blue. Now again, adding a little bit of black, I always like to go a little bit darker. So we're using for this one some deep blue and I'm mixing some matte black. And we're just gonna, again, as we did before, just nice gradient mix. Now, we don't have to be great with this one because what we're gonna do is we're gonna just slap this all over our base. And we're gonna start picking out those blues in it. So really looks like we've got some depth to this little stream here. This could be running through our scene. By the time we finish doing this, our owlbear should be nice and dry. But it's still a little bit wet, so we're going to stick it over here, and we're going to move on to our owlbear ones. Now, with matte varnish, shake it very well. I say this because occasionally, especially some of the cheaper matte varnishes, will have a really nasty white sort of lacquer on top. You can't get rid of it. So every time I do this, I hope and pray that it doesn't happen. So let's give it a go. I'm not going to bother with the mask this time, but you should. You should. So let's give this a little, hey, lovely. Just gently. You don't want to go too much onto it. Just get it so that it's protecting that layer of paint. There we go. And we'll do it for these little things as well. Right, so that does actually dry very, very quickly. So what we're going to do now is we're going to move on to blocking out some of the colors. We're going to go for a little bit of Phoenix Flames because it's very yellow. We're going to just tone it down a little bit. So let's stick some Phoenix Flames there. And I want to mix it with a little bit of Lava Orange. And let's just get that nice little mix in there. And we're going to gently go for the beak. There we go. And it's still very thin paint, but that's exactly what we want. What we're going to do is go back to this. Let's have a look at those claws. So for the claws, I want them to be kind of off black. So we're going to go in once again with our black. There we go. And this time, I'm going to add a little bit of ash gray again. There we go. It's good. It's a very light gray. And where's my nasty boy? Nasty boy. For the slightly darker side here of these gradients, just wiping it on here. A little bit more water. Paint as as you like, just as you go. Just if you see a little problem, don't worry. Everything can be fixed. There you go. So we're starting to bring those claws out. Make them a slightly different color. This particular time, blackish gray. That way they stand out a little bit more against the browns of the model. Lovely greenery, lovely plants. Pick that out there, and there. Wash that off a bit. Yummy. And we'll bring those out as well. And then we've got this side over here to go. That's fine as it is. Again, most of it, the owlbear will probably be stood over most of it. You don't have to worry too much about getting every single bit done. Do what you can, you know? Ah, nice. So with that bit done there, let's move on to the water. Once again, deep blue. And we're going to bring back the little bit of the ultramarine blue. Nasty boy. Mix it up. Get it nice and mixed. This time, I'm going to add, again, the white. Because we're going to stipple this bad boy. Get that in there, make a really nice light color there. And the nasty boy again. I'm going to come in. I'm just going to stipple in the water. Spread it around a little bit. As you see, starting to actually look a little bit more like water now. Especially those edges where it was a bit lighter. Just stipple. The stippling, you just want to just gently hold your brush over it. Now again, it'd be a bad brush, doesn't matter, as long as it's got some points to it. And you just lightly dab over and over and over, just like so. And if we get rid of some of that blue here, doesn't matter, we can bring it back later with a nice blue wash. And I want it to be a little bit less foamy in the middle there, so let's add a little bit more of the blue. And I see a little bit here. Let's grab you and a bit of you. And let's mix you up a little bit. Let's go into the middle. Make that nice and vibrant. There we go. Ooh, 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 that's some water right there. Mix those in. Ooh, there we go. There we go. Lively base going on here. What we're going to do is, again, back with the dry brush just a little bit, because I want some of those little peaks. I'm going to go over this rocky area here, just very gently, picking up some of those raised areas. A little bit more white. Ah, there we go, there. Lovely. Let's go for some oak brown. Now oak brown, I'm going to mix this in this area here, a little bit gooey. And what have we got here for oak brown? A little bit lighter I thought, so let's add it with a little bit of dirt splatter. So again, just experiment as you go along. Oh, that's more like it. That's what we're looking for. Now I'm going to borrow a little bit of this black. I'm going to put it in here just so we have something to build upon. I'd much rather always build upon something rather than slapping it straight on. So let's just stick some of that dark brown in a couple of areas where we think be a bit muddy. So maybe around here, we have some tree branches. Those could go there. Just to add a little bit more variety for the eye. And also we want to separate those rocks a little bit. So a little bit of dirt on your rock never did any harm. Pop that there. And there. We're going to go a little bit more white. Let's go for some more matte white. So we're really going to make those rocks come to life now. Really make them feel like they're prominent on the base. So let's get some of that lovely white. And we're just going to gently stroke it across here. In fact, we could probably even be a bit more daring and go even lighter. But we can always have another pass at that. Now I'm just going over those bits but get caught with the dry brush. Just the edges, just to really make them pop. Ah, lovely. Let that set, let that dry, and then we're back to the Owlbear. As you can see, most of it quite nice. Still need to do the arrows though, and these guys are going to come along afterwards, but that'll be fine detail that comes in. I want them to be a slightly different color brown to the rest of the Owlbear so that they stand out a little bit more. So we're just going to do that right there. We'll pick up those bits of those feathers in a moment. Make those a little bit more owly, owlbeary. That should just about do it for this feathered family. How about we take a 360-degree look at this mini? What a lovely, wholesome family photo those guys take. Well, that's about it for this episode. I hope you learned a little something along the way, and I hope you pick yourselves up one of these delightful little owlbears. And before we go, don't forget to like, share, and subscribe. Hit the bell icon to stay notified for the next episode, where we may just be making some wargaming terrain. But until then, cheerio. Right, back from Essen, and episode 1 is in the bag. Let's have a look at the comments section, shall we?